Hail and well met. Today I shall tell you of the continent of Meridia. Meridia is a land shadowed by the impossibly high mountain ranges that run along the whole of its north and bridges it to Deicrea. The surface of the continent is dominated by the duplicitous sands and the fire rift at its heart. Across the breadth of the continent, bands of nomadic clans quest for water while plumbing the depths of dead empires haunted by immortal-born obscenities. Visitors to its arid shores say that Meridia is a land of 4 directions but only 2 paths. In the west, where the sea feeds vast grasslands, islands, and river valleys, cities gleam as beacons of hope for humanity's prosperity. To the east is where the sun dare not rise slowly, lest the land's many malicious claws shackle it. Meridia's history is a record of the hundreds of fallen mortal domains whose births were fed by the death of the former regime. Meridia is now a dying giant. Its glorious Maleks reign supreme over all lands they had charts of. Buildings and complexes far beyond that yet seen towered high like gilded pythons placed by the immortals. Then the fire rift opened, when a group of sorcerers granted terrible powers by spirits pulled a tendril of the burning veins rift closer to the surface. Meridia broke off from the continent of Nuba and began floating forward. The fields of green began to turn to black ash as the flame rift tore its way into existence like blood spurting from a cut artery. Once Meridia's north collided with Deicrea's south, a grand mountain range erected itself. No rain or sea breeze could reach the heart of the land, and thus it began to die. Now its mortals vie for resources with the clever beasts of the desert, and a sun whose anger conjures the howling spirits of the dunes. In the west, a war rages in the shadows of imperial domination. The domains of West Meridia were affected the most by the continental collision with Deicrea. Islands and peninsulas shattered and created straits and seas, which forced beasts to evolve rapidly for gory survival, and laid the wilds and mortal domains alike barren. Much of West Meridia is blurred with South Deicrea, forming the region of Meridia, a true panoply of peoples from a far field as Occidentalis and Polyglossia. Domains of West Meridia fall into either minor Maleks scrambling to establish themselves in the aftermath of the Malek of Meridia's fall, as their borders are assailed by horrors, or the deific shattered relics of an age of supremacy poets recount in solemn praise. West Meridia is a land straddling the strengths of the past while brutally establishing its present as a time of machination and seething vengeance. Blood stains the hungering sands, awash with fire and immortal hate stoked by the flame rift. The interior of Meridia has become a shadow of its former glories. The erection of the impassable mountains blocked the rains from sustaining the forest and plains, and the flame rift scorched the rest. Deserts as far as the horizon and beyond stretch from the edges of the west through the south and all the way to the east. To travel into the interior, where only the most well-traveled nomads have barely survived, is to face death itself. The sands shift with the whispers of immortals around the corpses of empires great and small. Storms of magic roil in the sky, coruscating every hue and color from the destroyed remnants of great and terrible rites. None can walk this land on foot. Riders from a far-off land feud with the native Meridians, who have adopted all manner of beasts for their mounts. It is said to stand still is to give death the opportunity to catch up, and so to ride is to live. Yet even the roving armies of horse lords, who have slain horrors so singular and terrible they could only be god's spawn, dare not travel south to the islands or the interior of the east. When Meridia collided with Deicrea, it awakened the dragon whom mortals call God-Slayer. The dragon flapped its wings, conjuring storms of ruinous twilight. Its breath scorched the land, and its fangs tore apart the immortals of many peoples before their very eyes. God-Slayer eventually burrowed into the heart of a volcano on an island off the coast to slumber, but the fell deeds were done. Mortals turned to depravity for survival, and what empathy survived was either quelled or banded together into crusading armies bent upon the annihilation of the evils that befell their ancestral lands and God-Slayer itself. These are the ages of the Meridian Reckoning, which are currently recognized. There have been much older reckoning systems in West Meridia, but these are the ones that are currently used by the native inhabitants, and thus shall be used as well. For the purposes of clarity and understanding, the West Meridian Reckoning has been put into the Ascended Reckoning, as there is approximately 312 years difference between the two. Yet, the names shall still be used that are used today in West Meridia. The Age of Death, which is also known as the Age of Rifting, 1 to 600 AR. The Age of Wandering, 601 to 1600 AR. The Age of Mysteries, 1601 to 2310 AR. The Age of Wishes, 2311 to 3350 AR. Most notable for the fact that this is when the Flame Rift opened, and Meridia broke off from Nuba, moving northwards onto its Deicrean path. The Age of Taint, 3351 to 3989 AR. Notable for the connection between Meridia and Deicrea, forming the land of De Meridia. Approximately. The Age of Lords, 3990 to 4782 AR. The Age of Heirs, 4783 to 4860 AR. The Age of Decadence, 4861 to 4939 AR. And the Age of Gold, 4940 to the present AR, which is 5026 AR. Environments. Meridia's westernmost parts are a collection of islands and peninsulas, harkening back to the days before the Flame Rift. Grasslands fed by plentiful rivers define the west, where many cities and villages reside in what is often called De Meridia. The southern coast is a rocky and hard-sailing area, which prevents much seaborne travel. Winds moving through the corridor batter the water and drag sandstorms from Meridia's interior into the squalling waves. The heart of Meridia is a barren wasteland looked over by colossal mountains to the north, with a few scattered oases and grasslands. Its topsoil has been scoured and turned into sand. The lack of matter allows easy access to the realm below, where many settle in its odd reflections of the surface. Also in this region is the Flame Rift, a rift which is so prevalent it helped turn Meridia into a hellscape. The closer one gets to the flame rift, the more environs of burning candor exist. The east is also filled with deserts, but is notable in legend to be covered in flesh and forests along the twisting peninsula. And the tongues. Hundreds of tongues and languages of little report are spoken across Meridia, but a few stand out as being the most widely spoken, be it wholly or related. There is West Meridian and kin, known as Khasi. De Meridian, which is a pidgin between Khasi and Latio and Hellas and a few other languages. There is Latio and kin, which was spoken by the imperial forces stationed within there. There is Hellas and kin, which joined in with the Latio but was present before imperial conquests. There is Central Meridian and kin, known as Az. East Meridian and kin, which is known as Igirhash, Nuban, some Carthagish, and Kaz, the tongue of the horse lords. Tales of Mortality is a world-building podcast set in the world of Asenscia, created and owned by Bard over 18 years and counting. It is a fantasy world of horror and madness, a planet racked by mutation and magic, where humanity survives only through itself and the Spirit Indomitable against horrors natural and unnatural. The Worldbuilder, writer, producer, and artist of the thumbnail is Bard. Me! Below is a transcription of lore, as well as a link to my Instagram, Bard of the Mad Realm, where I share art related to Asenscia. Thank you all for listening to Tales of Mortality. May chaos reign. Bye-bye.